1. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing, Seth?
I'm good.
Must be feeling pretty good because I know you're in Vermont and the ski season is starting, so I'm sure you're going to have a great weekend as long as some snows come in. All right, we have a big show today. We're going to discuss we're going to start out with the FSD Beta full release and what the implication of that is. And is it exciting? Is it not? Is it what? We're going to get into that. Some Tesla shareholders news, Cybertruck, a new referral program with a little bit more information about it. And then we're going to take your question as usual. So if you guys have any question, put them in the comment section right now because we are live and we can take your question live later on the show. And if you do enjoy the Electrek podcast, can I ask you to quickly put a like and subscribe? That helps the show tremendously, and we appreciate it. And if you're listening on your podcast app, a 5-star review is free to do, takes a second, and it helps the show more than you can imagine. And we appreciate every single one of you that does it. All right, let's jump in right away with the full self-driving beta wide release. So it's kind of an underwhelming news for me. Elon tweeted out Tesla self-driving beta is now available to anyone in North America who request it from the car screen. So that's like the advanced software. You can request a full self-driving beta from that, assuming you have bought this option. So of course you have to have bought the full self-driving beta package, which might have cost you between $3,000 on top of enhanced autopilot during the best of days to up to $15,000 now if you have that to spend on some software. He says, congrats to the Autopilot AI team on achieving a major milestone. So that's where I'm like, is it really a major milestone? Because to be fair, I haven't tried the new update just yet. I got it in my car, but I have a flat on it, and because it's Quebec right now and everybody's getting their winter tires, I cannot get an appointment to put the new tire on it, even though I was early. I already had my winter tires, but then I got a flat on one, and it's just not like, anyway. It's very frustrating, but I'll be able to test it out if I have the guts to test it out in the snow, because we're snowed in right now. So, but from what I'm hearing right now, it's not a giant update. It's just one of those other incremental update that FSD Beta has been having for the past 2 years, really. And so the biggest news is that now it's not about the safety score. It's not about people, whether you can get it or not, the update. Anyone who's bought FSD Beta in North America, specifically US, Canada, can get it. I don't know about Mexico. I don't know if it's working in Mexico, because technically that's North America too, and Tesla is in the Mexican market. Don't hear enough about the Mexican market from Tesla. So the only difference is that if you ordered it, you can get it. But is it a major milestone? Because if anyone that's been following the program, remember that the original goal was 1 million robotaxi by the end of the year, and the end of the year was the previous year and the year after that. So more recently it was this year, but we're nowhere near any kind of robotaxi situation. It's still FSD Beta, where it's Tesla consider it level 2 driver assist, where you need to pay attention at all time, you need to be ready to take control, and it's just not a robotaxi situation. So that's not the goal anymore. Then it was 1 million people with FSD Beta by the end of the year. Now, are we anywhere near 1 million? Because we know we were at around 160,000 before the wider release. I would be shocked. Tesla, of course, is not releasing the information, but I would be shocked if the wider release even doubles the number of people in the FSD Beta. So let's say that it does double it, which again I'd be shocked just based on what we know of the take rate of the FSD Beta package, being I think less than 10% or 15% at max. There's just not a million people that have it in North America. So if you can have it and you can request it, I would be shocked if we're nowhere near a million people. So really, what is it? It increased somewhat the number of people on the FSD Beta, which you can hope that might accelerate the improvement of the FSD Beta program with more data coming in. But there's been a lot of expansion of the program from 1,000 to 10,000, from 10,000 to 100,000, from 100,000 to 160,000. And we haven't, or at least personally, And I would like to I get your opinion on that. Said I haven't seen a giant improvement in the pace of improvements of the it's not like an exponential increase. It's been very incremental, like building on the last update. Sometimes a step back. We've seen some step back. We've seen like 2 steps forward, a step back situation with the whole program. So I don't know what you think, Seth.
Yeah, I mean, as you try to get closer and closer to 100% error-free, you expect that last little bit to even take longer. So it would be surprising if we saw the rate of improvement increasing. And I have to say, like, my experience hasn't been great. You know, it's on my wife's car, and she will never use it. She tried it and hated it. We went out to a whiskey tasting thing, and we were like, hey, maybe we'll just let this thing drive us home and we can have some drinks. And then, so we used it on the way to the thing. Of course, we wouldn't
Obviously,
do it.
let's put a disclaimer on this. You
Yeah.
were still below the limit of alcohol
Right,
consumption.
right. It was kind of a joke.
Yeah.
So we went in full self-driving there, and we had enough problems on the way there that we both were joking that we would get pulled over by the cops on the way home if we let this if we just let full self-driving drive us home, because you know it drives worse than you know any drunk person would drive. That said, you know, like it's still improving. I feel like it's getting slightly better. We just had an update up before we came up to Vermont, and we're on the highway, and it went into full self-driving, the FSD mode with like the red, you know, the and I thought before,
With a divider.
yeah, and
Because the V11 apparently is not fully rolled out yet. It's just the first, like there's maybe like 1,000 people on it, whatever. So it's not. They haven't merged the stack just yet, apparently.
I wonder if we wonder if we got the merge stack or something, because
But there are occasions where I would experience that where the highway is a little bit different. Where normally it would be autopilot on it, but then I get the FSD beta.
okay,
So it depends on like the type of highway. I've seen some I've seen some occasion where it does do that, but I normally I can tell, okay, like I can see why it would detect this as like a road, like a country road, whatever, instead of a highway for whatever reason.
yeah. This is called the Taconic Parkway, and if you've driven on it, you know it's not a great road. It's not an interstate by any stretch,
Okay.
but it you know it does work on certain stretches of it. It's just nobody in the car trusts it, and the kids all freak out if I put it on. So
Yeah, I'm a little bit nervous with that V11 and that merge of the two stacks. Where, if I'm understanding correctly, it would be more of like the FSD beta stack taking over autopilot on the highway. And on my own experience, autopilot has been a lot smoother than FSD beta. But we'll see. Maybe there's some improvement and make it more confident. And also, obviously, it's easier to drive on the highway. It's less complex. So maybe FSD beta will perform even better. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you touched on an interesting subject here, where you're like, you feel like it drives dumb, like, and everything. And I feel like the best tester of autopilots are those that have like just no chill whatsoever, and like they don't care about driving in like weird way and like around other people. Like I don't mind if it's like a deserted road or something like that. Like, and I'm not like, no one is like looking at me and like wondering like, hey, is that person okay? Because literally, if I would be watching someone drive like that from outside, I would be like, oh, then that person might be distressed or something. So
right.
I don't want to do that around other cars, like just to like create some kind of situation where people, I feel like it adds danger around the situation. But then at the same time, if you don't do it, the car operates all the time without being around other people. So like, what's the actual usefulness of that? I just don't know. But yeah, but this is happening. So that I guess the biggest takeaway of this whole thing is be careful out there. If you're using it, hands on the steering wheel at all time. Make sure that you're paying attention at all time and you're ready to take control at all time. That's the biggest.
One quick question before we end: if you were able to remove it, would you do that?
And get my money back, you mean?
No, just pull it off your machine and go back to off your car and go back to just regular autopilot and
Oh well, we'll see. I'm still open to it because, like I said, the highway driving is so much easier than the city driving that FSD Beta might actually do pretty well on the highway.
Okay.
So I don't know. I'm still open to it, but I'm skeptical, and I wanna test it out because autopilot, especially I do so often, like Shawinigan between Montreal all the time, and it's been a lifesaver for me. Autopilot, not literally. I never like save an accident or that, but it is a lot. Like I did it on Monday. I had to drive to Montreal, and I did it because of that flat tire issue. I did it with my Model S. 2012 Model S, so zero autopilot whatsoever in this. There's a cruise control, but it's not even adaptive. And still a great car. 10 years old Model S, almost 10 years old, and I still love it. But it was really different. It took me maybe like a 10 miles on the like I realized I never really controlled the car on the highway anymore, and I haven't for like 4 years. So I'm like, oh, this is I forget to drive on the highway. Like staying autopilot is so good at staying in the lane too. Like my girlfriend
Right.
at first, for the first few miles, she was like, "Are you okay? Like, I feel like you're driving so weird." I was like, "Yeah, it's me driving on the highway. I don't drive on the highway." But on the city though, I always give it a shot. I'll let FSD Beta like get it on the off ramp, try it out, and then as soon as it screws up, I'm like, all right, I'm done for now. Like I'm just unless I go out there to test it. But if I'm just driving and I'm trying to get somewhere, it's stressful as hell.
I'm just surprised. I mean, last thing I'll say, like, I'm just surprised that people say that it's, almost usable or whatever, because I've never had an experience where I was like, oh, this could get me from, point A to point B. Like, it does do well for like blocks at a time, or like there's no interventions for maybe a mile or two, but like I've never felt 100% comfortable in it ever. And
Yeah,
it's
I
just
mean,
weird, these things I see on YouTube and stuff.
yeah, I mean, sometimes I'm driving. I'm like, oh, I can understand these guys in California now. Like it does well, especially like in suburban streets and all that. But when it screws up so bad most often that
Right.
it kills all those hopes. Like you're like, all right, then I'll forget about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's it.
All right, Tesla investors had a bad week up until Wednesday, I would say, because Wednesday they did have a good day that helped recover, but yeah, stock took a beating. I did a report on it that Tesla basically erased almost $500 billion in market capitalization over the last 3 months alone.
Jeez.
That's a lot of valuation going bye bye. And I mean, the market has been taking a beating throughout that time too. But I think Tesla is down like 30%. 30. It was down 40% when I did the report, and then the S&P 500, or no, I checked the Nasdaq since Tesla trades on the Nasdaq, and Nasdaq was down like 8% or something, which is a lot for the Nasdaq within that period of time, but nowhere near Tesla's drop of almost half. So the Tesla investors or Tesla bulls are always little quieter when the stock is not doing so well, and they're not as happy with Elon, and Elon doesn't get as many supporters when the Tesla stock is down too. It's a very strange situation. Not strange, it's kind of it shows where some of the priorities are at. And when you touch people's money, that's when that's when things go awry. But Tesla investors are holding strong, and but they are asking the board to help. So we reported over the last what since a month and a half, right? No, a month since the last earnings call. Elon revealed that the board is considering a buyback program between $5 and $10 billion. So that opened the door, because normally the Tesla investors are like, we're extremely against buyback, extremely against dividends. They're like, yeah, that's a sign of a company that's slowing down. They don't find anything to reinvest in. But Tesla has been accumulating capital for a while now, and they already claim to be spending cash as efficiently as fast as they can. And I kind of believe them with that, because I mean they have a significant free cash flow, and there's a point where there's just that you have that much personnel, and they are hiring and all that, but there's a limit on how much you can spend fast at a certain rate. I feel like the other ways that big companies, when they have a lot of cash sitting in and that they can actually like spend it, is through acquisitions. because then you acquire also a workforce that's going to spend that cash, and the acquisition itself is spending and all that. So, and we know that Tesla is not big on extremely large acquisition. There's been a few exceptions, but for the most part, they're not. They're not like a Google or Apple. Even Apple. I mean, you would know more said, but they had times where they acquire. Make a lot of small acquisition. Really, a lot of small acquisition, not big ones.
Yeah, Apple buys like a few companies a month, but they're really small, like mom and pop shops. The exception is like Beats by Dre. They bought to create Apple Music, and they still have the Beats headsets. So, but Google, they buy companies almost like big companies like YouTube and DoubleClick, and that become big parts of their business.
Yeah. So Tesla is not really like that. So they spend the cash as fast as they can, and they have large projects that do spend a lot of money, like all the gigafactories, and we know that there's more on the ways too. But that's like billions of dollars of investment over years, and that ends up being peanuts for Tesla that has billions of dollars in free cash flow every quarter now. So there's limit on what they can spend, and now they are sitting on like $20 billion. So they have room to try to pay back investors a little bit, and with that giant drop in stock price, what makes the most sense is just share buyback program. So remove some of those shares from the market, create more demand, boost the stock price. But even then, $5-10 billion is not going to be that much. But Alexandra Merz, I think that's Merz. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. She is a Tesla shareholder, and she started a petition to ask the board to start to because we haven't heard a peep from Tesla for a month about Elon announced that this is something they're considering, but they haven't pulled the trigger on it despite the giant share drop. So the share went a little bit back up. So. In the petition, she lists 4 good reasons to do it right now, and because apparently there's some changes to taxes and benefits and SEC rules regarding share buyback programs coming by the end of the year. So she's sort of putting a timer on this so that Tesla moves quickly. She said they benefit from a currently very unvalued stock price. Well, that's obviously based on our opinion. I know that a lot of people don't share that opinion. Show confidence in Tesla's future results. Sure, that's normally a company does that when they believe that their stock is undervalued. Act before the 1% tax on share buybacks becomes applicable on January 1st, 2023. So that's the change in tax. Oh, so right now there's no tax on share buyback, and then there's going to be a 1% tax. I feel like that's kind of fair. Like, there should be a tax on share buyback. That would be another tax loophole for people that would spend that money. But yeah, a 1% is nothing. Right? But I guess it's a reason to do it before, say 1% on a few $1 billion. Operate the buyback under current SEC rules will change reporting standard in the foreseeable future. So I don't know how big of an impact that is. Because she doesn't list the rule change. And to be honest, I didn't look them up. There was 4,000 people that signed that petition, which is a decent amount for something niche like that. That was when I report. Ooh, my cursor is going a bit crazy. Let me see how many people there is right now that signed this. 6,300. So a decent amount of investors signed that. We'll see if it's going to have any influence, because they kind of need to stop the bleeding, because Elon isn't doing much for it.
No.
Other than like claiming that Tesla's going to be more valuable than Apple at the last shareholder meeting.
Apple and Saudi Aramco combined.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So quite a few trillion, like $2 or $3 trillion. All right. Here, the Cybertruck. That's what really is gonna be the next big catalyst for Tesla. Let's be honest, because yes, the Model Y is on its path to be the best-selling vehicle in the world right now, and it's been a very successful vehicle program for Tesla with all the good reasons. I think for good reasons, but there's a limit to it at some point. Like there's just Tesla. It looks like Tesla thinks it can sell over 1 million Model Ys per year, but I think that within a year or two, that's going to be a lot harder to do. I think just with the competition and just with the program being a little bit older, I'm sure Tesla's going to keep making improvements. Then it's going to be incremental improvement. And I don't expect any kind of breakthrough. Tesla has been relying more on those incremental improvements. So Cybertruck is it's a whole new market. It's a pickup truck, and also like it kind of merged. It's not going to just going after the pickup truck market. It's just such a radically different vehicle that's going to attract other people to it. So it's going to be very different. And also the way that they're going to build that thing with those new giant gigapress casting machine, the fact that they're not even going to paint, they're not going to bother to paint it because it's stainless steel. Like there's a lot of opportunity to make that truck like high volume, because people don't even think about that, but the paint shop has been a giant bottleneck for Tesla at several occasions. Maybe not now. Maybe it is in some production facilities, but over the years, the paint shop has been a giant limiting factor for a long period of time, several times. So,
and I think it's also one of the hardest things to get through the like environmental protection,
that's
stuff.
a good point. Yeah. Fremont, they had limitation in Fremont a few times before because of that, because of the EPA and all that. So removing that alone, like it's a giant headache that Tesla is not going to have in ramping up. So that's going to help the ramp up going a little bit faster, maybe even a lot faster. I'm not so sure. But the GigaPress too, once they get that tuned in, and it looks like they're already working on that and have been for a while. And of course, the D press is coming in the coming weeks. If I know the first one, there was a second one coming after that. The first one is coming fairly soon. So that they could have an opportunity here to ramp that up fairly quickly. And it doesn't really, Tesla has never disappointed. Like I had some like disagreement with Tesla over the last few years of how they approach things, especially Elon. But Tesla has never disappointed me when it comes to an actual vehicle program. And I don't see how it would be the case this time. I'm sure we can disagree on that, but
I mean, as we'll talk about later, the 1.5 million people reservations, I think that's a huge number. It's surprising to me though. Like I have to say, the Cybertruck is not like an F-150 or even a Rivian, which looks mostly like a normal pickup truck. It looks like nothing else out there. Like nobody's going to mistake any other vehicle for this thing. I just wonder, is like with Elon's recent Twitter stuff, like I wonder if people are going to be as excited to kind of represent his idea as they were a while ago. Like when the Cybertruck was released, everybody was gung-ho on Tesla, gung-ho on Elon, and now I think he's kind of split the split the country down the political lines perhaps a little bit. And
keep going.
Well, it's just like look at that vehicle. That's not like, is that a mainstream
You mean
vehicle?
that it's a clear statement? Like you feel like if some people might be afraid that if they show up with that, like they're making a political statement or something like that. Is that what you're saying?
Political, or just like you're very like with a Model Y, you're kind of just like I've got a CUV and it's a Tesla and it looks like a Tesla, and nobody's going to mistake it for anything else. But it's not like stainless steel triangle thing.
Also, you can always say, "Oh, I got it before Elon went crazy or whatever."
I actually saw somebody with a Tesla bumper sticker that said something to that effect. They said, "I bought this before Elon went crazy" or something.
That's funny.
Maybe we should sell those.
Yeah, I say that would be funny. Not that I'm saying that Elon necessarily went crazy. Like I mean, I'm sure like it's more complicated than that, in my opinion. But
yeah, for sure.
I get what you're saying, and I for sure there's going to be a percentage of people that this applies to. There's no doubt about it. However, I don't know how meaningful this percentage of people actually is, because with those things, like I know there's a large percentage of people that are mad at Elon for like saying that Democrats are a party of 8 and all that, and they even try to influence the election to a degree. But for the most part, the people that I saw personally that are actually like, I don't I don't deal with Elon. I don't want to touch anything Elon Musk anymore because of that. I feel like that's a very extreme part of that political spectrum. Uh,
Yep.
I think there's a lot of people that are just like disappointed in Elon and what he's done recently, but still are like super hype on Tesla. That's me. That's
Right.
definitely me. And I think there's a lot of people, more people like me, like that. I might be like just my bias, but I think that's the most part. Just like when you look at the political spectrum in the U.S., it's extremely polarizing. But there's a lot more people at the center than at the extreme right and extreme left. Like those both part are extremely vocal. Obviously, that's how it works. But I think the bulk of the people are closer to the center, some more to the left, some more to the right for sure, but closer to the center. And I think those people, of course, at the left of that center are like, yeah, Elon, you should shut up sometimes. But you should use less Twitter instead of buying it. You should just like tone down your use of Twitter. But that's right for anyone. It's just that happens to be extremely influential to a degree for good reasons. And now it doesn't align with your political views anymore, so it's frustrating. But you have to. Then at the end of the day, you're like, Tesla's vehicles are still amazing. Supercharger network is the best by far. So you're like, I'm gonna buy what's best for me,
Right.
regardless of what the CEO of the company is like right now. So I think Tesla is still okay. However, I'm putting a little asterisk to this. If it get just a little bit worse than this or a lot worse than this, I don't know. You posted this morning in the newsroom, electric newsroom, you posted this Ford features where what did they say exactly? That they were making the case that it's killing his legacy, is the myth around him. How Elon Musk Twitter takeover is ruining his own myth and Tesla stock. Tesla stock, there's no doubt about it. They're right about that. Like, he had a super negative impact on the stock by directly selling the stock, and also some people like not wanting to be part of Tesla anymore. But again, I think that's a smaller percentage. But in terms of killing his whole myth, I don't know, because especially on the grand scheme of things, and what I use as an example is like if you scale back like 100 years, like you zoom out like 100 years in the future, most people I think are gonna forget about this all political bickering stuff, and maybe not about Twitter itself. If it's still around in 100 years, I don't know. I have no idea. But the political stuff around it, I think that's gonna die down. And be forgotten. I don't think Tesla and SpaceX, if humanity is still around in 100 years, I don't think Tesla and SpaceX are going to be forgotten, especially their impact on accelerating electric revolution. And in the case of SpaceX, like if it keep going like they're going, like the impact on humanity 100 years is going to be quite substantial. But then some people responded to that tweet by saying, like, look at Henry Ford. And I had a little debate about that because
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah, look at Henry Ford, and some guys suggested like people remember him as a Nazi sympathizer right now. I'm like, I mean, it definitely was, but I honestly don't know if you ask the average Joe right now in the U.S. how many people know him as a Nazi sympathizer versus the founder of Ford and the realization of the manufacturing. And let's be honest, whatever Elon is doing right now, if you look at it objectively, it's far from being a Nazi sympathizer. Like, it's still
So far.
Yeah, so far. Let's talk about, let's put this in the context of right now. It's far from being Nazi sympathizer.
Right.
Like Ford. I mean, to be honest, I haven't never delved into the details of it, but I remember reading some things that looks like, yeah, it's serious allegation of having some hands at plays and some money involved in the fascist movements in Europe. I don't remember exactly about the Nazis, but I know in England at the very least. Maybe you know more about this than me.
Yeah, so he had a newspaper called the Dearborn whatever, and he
Uh-huh.
put it out in all of his dealerships. And he had like, he would have stuff about like the Illuminati and
Really?
yeah, it was really,
Also,
really
it
kind of
was there,
saturated.
because I know that Illuminati had been linked to anti-Semitism before, like saying that like the Jewish people control the world and whatnot,
Right,
so
right.
things like that. Okay, so there was literally anti-Semitic stuff. Though some people are like making Elon anti-Semitic by association with what's his face, Kanye West too. So there is some link for sure, but I think we're far from that. And
Yeah, I just don't think he is that way. Just generally speaking. I mean, he might say something stupid, and like there's a pretty solid chance he'll probably say something stupid in the next, couple of weeks because that's
Couple
just how
seconds.
things are going. But I don't think he's that way. So like,
Mhm.
I'm not too worried about,
But then,
him.
to my point, like zoom out 100 years, even Ford right now, I think most people, especially in the U.S., remember him as like this hero of manufacturing and the founder of Ford, not as a fascist or Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, it's still an issue though. Like, there's a
Yeah.
Ford Foundation. My wife works with them quite a bit, and they have to do a lot of work to kind of like, smooth over all that stuff and
Mhm.
not get the whole organization canceled. So it's something, you
Yeah.
know, like his legacy is still tarnished from that. And
Oh, yeah, but to come back to the point at hand, like this all gonna have an impact on Tesla's future vehicle program, including a Cybertruck. But I think the hype is still extremely strong around it. We just reported 1.5 million reservation according to the tally, which is a lot.
a lot.
And the hype sort of hasn't died down too much. Like truck was unveiled in end of 2019, been 3 years now, and the hype is still strong. So if Tesla can keep the momentum going just a few more months until they get production, I think they still have a very successful vehicle program on their hand.
What do you think the base price is going to be?
Yeah, that's something that I went into in the electric stake here, like what they need to do to ensure that the vehicle program is still going to be successful in terms of the spec and pricing, because we know that's going to be updated. If they can keep the price range between $50,000 for the base one and $90,000 for the top one, I think they still have they're still going to retain much of the original demand for it, because of course a lot of that demand came from the $40,000 base price and the specs. Tesla has been generally pretty good at delivering on the specs that they originally promised. We know that the program evolved a little bit, like the top one, instead of being a tri-motor powertrain, is going to be a quad one. So we know that to start with, that's going to be more expensive. But I think a lot of what it is around this truck is ease of manufacturing and low cost and efficiency. So I think Tesla might surprise people with not too big of a price increase with inflation like we've seen with the other vehicle program. I mean, Ford already announced the big price increase on also like Tesla with the Cybertruck, even though it came in later, it was unveiled before all those other programs. And I think the price, the $40,000 base price, influenced the base price of the Lightning, influenced the base price of the Silverado Electric. But
For
then they
sure.
all add to. Did they increase the price of the Silverado? I don't remember if
So
they did.
they pushed it back. There's only fleet customers getting it next year,
Okay.
and I think they haven't upgraded. So Chevy's been super aggressive on prices.
Mhm.
I don't think it's officially updated, but I think they're only going to release higher versions of it initially. So, I don't
So the
know.
base price don't matter.
Right, right.
And then at the higher end, there's also a wide price range for the Silverado, just like there is for the Lightning and the likely for the Cybertruck.
So wait, real quick, last thing.
Yeah.
You have a Rivian reservation still, right?
Yeah.
And those are coming to Canada pretty soon. Are you gonna take your reservation, and are you gonna keep it? Are you gonna wait for the Cybertruck? You gonna get an F
I,
one
I,
fifty?
I kind of really want the Cybertruck, to be honest. Like, I'm still super excited about it. I like the Rivian too, but I look at the Rivian right now, and it might be just to hold on until Cybertruck if I get it. So that's
Well, you'll be able to make your money back.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. Especially they apparently locked in on the price, on the old price, but they haven't given me the Canadian price, so I need to look
Hmm.
that up. But I know they started delivery, so they I should be able to get the Canadian price
Yep,
right now, because they started deliveries in British Columbia. Right now they're telling me January for here.
that's not too far.
That's not
2
too far,
months.
but I'm taking that with a grain of salt, because it depend. They need to open like a service center and all that before they start deliveries here. So we'll see.
Got it.
So we've been reporting on this new referral program for Tesla for the last few months now, and we said they launched it in China, and it's sort of more from a referral program to now a loyalty program. And now it was launched in the US, the new version of it. However, it's not for cars yet. So Tesla is not making it for cars. So it's about solar. So the only way to get points, because now it's points, it's with buying solar. and now it's really like they really cut out all the influencer aspect of it. So it's not about influencer anymore. It's more about like person to person. Really, the original intent of the program probably, but. Now it's loyalty based. You can use your own code now. So when you buy something, you use your own code and you get points like that. So it's really like a pure loyalty program. The more Tesla stuff you buy, the more points you get, and then you can redeem those points for a bunch of things, mainly merchandise. So like T-shirts and shorts and the wall connectors, so charging stations. So of course these things like the T-shirts you can get whatever you want, but the charging connector normally you just need one, maybe two or something if you have two places or whatever. So there's not that much you can do with that. But there's something pretty cool that they did, which is free supercharging miles. So you can always buy back supercharging miles whenever you need them. So that's pretty cool because it's 2,000 at a time. And they are good for 6 months, though. Like you need to be driving quite a lot, long distances, to get 2,000 miles over 6 months. Because again, most people just charge at home and whatnot. So that's, but that's interesting. And so right now you get 6,000? Is it for 6,000 for solar roof or solar panel installations. So that was already the case. Like now, it was like $300 that you would get. Now it's 6,000 points. So that's how it converts, I guess. But and it converts pretty well because like a wall connector is also 6,000 points. So you refer someone one solar roof or solar panel installation, and you get a free wall connector basically, which is worth about $300.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
The supercharging miles is 4,800 credits, so it's a little bit cheaper. That I think that a lot of people will go to that because the rest is all like a hoodie, a Tesla, the new Tesla sipping glasses. Have you seen those ones? It's the dumbest one. I would get as a shot glass, it would make sense. But as a sipping glass, like you use it for a bunch of times. You can't even put it down unless you put it out in the socket it comes with. Because
I saw that. That was a real head scratcher.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing. It's supposed to match the what do you call those? It's
Tesla Tequila, right?
Yeah, but then now they don't sell the tequila anymore. It's just like a carafe. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. It's a French word, Fred.
Yeah, I should know it, right? You see how much I don't drink. I mean, carafe is generally used for wine, though you can use it for whiskey too, I guess. A hoodie, 2,000 points. Wall connector face plate, which is like a plate that you put on it to match the color of your car. It's 1,500 points. A T-shirt is 700 credits. So yeah, we assume that because they are referenced in the new system, there are references to cars to referring it for a car purchase. So we assume that Tesla is going to add them as they need to for demand purposes. But for now, there's none of that. So we'll see about that. But they're putting in place sort of a change from the referral program to this loyalty program. All right, supercharger prices are going down. It's rare that we see things go down when it comes to Tesla, but this time the supercharger prices, which have been increased a lot over the last year, especially in Europe with the energy crisis they have there, and also in the US, especially in California with the summers and are tougher than winters for electricity use there. It's completely the inverse here, the contrary. Right now, my prices are going up with
heat.
Electric heating here. So yeah, there's as much as 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which is decent amount because I mean in a lot of the more expensive places in California it was like 50 cents, so it's like a 10% decrease of per kilowatt hour. It's a decent amount of decrease. And I saw some people report prices in Europe even a bigger, like 10 cents European cents per kilowatt hour, so even a bigger decrease there. And I think it's a sign of Tesla's business, a supercharger business, of some maturing, because if you remember when it was first launched, they made it clear that it would not be a business center. Like at first it was even free, though we knew that that wasn't going to be forever. It's inevitable. But it was sort of more of a features to Tesla vehicles. Like you get a Tesla vehicle, you get access to the supercharger network, which is better than anything else. So that was always that. But then of course, prices started coming in because it doesn't make sense to be free forever, obviously. And then now slowly Tesla is opening up the network to non-Tesla vehicles, so it's really becoming a business center, which wasn't the goal initially. And it makes sense for Tesla to do that because they have the biggest and best network in the world. So at this point, at this stage in the electric vehicle revolution, it starts to make sense to open it up and have other companies benefit from it, so that the revolution just accelerate. And for Tesla, it's becoming a natural business. Like, they want to not just be an automaker, but they are an energy company, and they are selling energy to that. So it's starting to make sense. And Tesla announced this week that they have 40,000 supercharger stalls around the world now. So it's by far the biggest global charging network, or fast charging network around the world. And now that you have non-Tesla vehicles on it, it's I would be curious to see like what kind of numbers it's pulling in terms of revenue. Like, if anything, it could be like a spin-off at one point. Like, they could spin up that business on its own, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, they're in such a better place than like Electrify America or EVgo, because they don't have to have screens, they don't have to have credit card things, they don't have to have RFID. It's basically an app and like a plug coming out of the ground. And because they design their systems really well, their overhead is going to be way lower than their competitors. So they can either beat their competitors on cost because they also have the scale, or they can charge the same and make a whole lot more, have much better margins. So they're in a good place on the charging front.
Yeah, for sure. And the cost of deployment, from what we are hearing, is a fraction of the average cost of deployment of other, or at least what other companies are charging. Because we know, like, it's still a construction business, and like building new charging stations is a construction business, and construction business, sometimes you have to be careful. Like, the budgets are suggestions, really. Like, and companies, especially when subsidies are involved, companies have been known to jack up the price.
For sure.
And all that. So you have to watch for that. So it might not be the true cost of Tesla, but I think even then, I think Tesla has a big advantage. They literally have factories producing those supercharger things, like large scale factories.
Yeah, and they do things like they have the modular one. They have the one that you can just send out on the back of a truck and deploy. Just run a wire in.
Cool.
So like they're already so far ahead. And the fact that Electrify America has to have a screen, has to have buttons, has to have the RFID thing, these big things they have to test against 30 different cars, and a bunch of cars don't work. Plug and charge is here or there. So Tesla's in a really good place, since they have the app that just needs to communicate with the controller. Now they just need to roll it out, really.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's accelerating the rollout too. Like, I've been tracking it, and it looks like it's accelerating. And of course, Supercharger V4 is coming now. The first station could be coming online like any day, really. And I think like every time that we saw Tesla bringing a new generation of Supercharger, normally it coincides with an acceleration of deployment, because the production shift to the new one, and it comes in a higher volume after that. Of course, the production of the actual charging station is not the only bottleneck. There's a ton of different bottlenecks within the installation of it, but still, it's important to note. All right, we have two more news items to discuss, and then we're jumping into the comments. If you have any question, any subjects you want us to discuss, put them in the comment section right now. I see, we don't have a ton of comments, so if you put in them right now, you should be able to get to them. I see Brent doesn't like when we talk about Tesla, which is 90% of recovering in Tesla. It's about the percentage of Tesla's market in North America where we're located. So it's
80% of the market.
Yeah, I think you're exaggerating with 90%, but probably like 80% or something like that, which is about their market share. So it makes sense to cover like that. And we see Great American who actually likes their Tesla coverage, so appreciate that. But put your question or subject you want to discuss in the comment section right now. I want to get to them in about 5-10 minutes. And if you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up. It helps the engagement, helps with the algorithm and all that, and helps improve the show or reach more people, I should say. All right, still on the Tesla Supercharger stuff, Aptera confirmed this week that they're going to adopt the North American charging standard, NACS. which is the Tesla connector. Because as we reported, was it last week or the week after that, before that, where Tesla opened up their standard, the charging standard, and renamed it the North American charging standard, in the hope for it to actually become that. It's kind of a full self-driving approach. Let's name it that and hope that we get there someday. So the charging connector is now the North American connector, and we hope that it becomes that. Even though, again, talking about market share, there is more NACS connector in North America than there are CCS right now, just because of this how much of market share Tesla has in electric vehicles and also in charging stations. So they have a good point. They have a good argument, and all they need now is other automakers to adopt it too on their actual vehicle. And Aptera kind of had maybe a hand at play here in terms of convincing Tesla to actually open it up, because they did petition the adoption of Tesla as the new standard in America a few months before Tesla announced it, and they got like almost 50,000 signature on that petition, which might not sound like that much, but it's a ton for something as niche as a charging standard. Like, there's not many people that get involved in that, so 50,000 is a ton of signature. And now they confirmed it, that in an email thanking the community for participating in that petition. They said that, I'm quoting, "We look forward to incorporating NACS in our SEVs," which is what they call their solar electric car or solar electric vehicles. "Thank you for challenging the status quo." So they confirmed that the Aptera solar electric car is going to have a Tesla plug. And we saw originally when the project first emerged. Well, Aptera is kind of a weird history, because the project first emerged like 10 years ago, really. But at that time, it was like a super efficient gasoline vehicle. And the project died, like wasn't successful. And then they relaunched it 2 years ago as an electric solar car, which makes a ton more sense. And the project has been quite successful since then. They raised like $60 million to crowdfunding, and now they're on the verge of starting production. But 2 years ago, when they first unveiled a new prototype as an electric vehicles, it had already a Tesla plug on it, which was interesting. I assume that they got that off like a salvage vehicles or something, and then they hacked it in or something like that. That would make more sense. I don't think they were working on with Tesla. But now, I wouldn't be so surprised if they were working for Tesla. Not that they need to, really, because Tesla opened up everything. They release all of I think they even released the CAD drawings and all that. Everything is, any company can just pick that up, put that in their car, build it, put it in their car. Everything is out there to do it. So that's great in itself. But Tesla really needs some automakers, or at least one, just really, really need one. But obviously, I think they would like more than one to adopt it, so that, because we said that it's not fully altruistic opening up the standard because of the situation right now with the infrastructure fund that the Biden administration released billions of dollars for new charging stations to be deployed. But to get access to those subsidies, you don't need to have a CCS connector, but you need to have a connector that is available to electric vehicles from more than one automaker, which disqualifies Superchargers for now. But if just one other automakers like Aptera adopt the standard, then it is open to more than one, because Aptera owners could use a Supercharger. And that would let Tesla have access to a lot of funding for building new station, which they don't necessarily need, but still. It's also it would be a giant win from Aptera, because if they can get access to the Supercharger network, it's going to be a lot useful. And the Aptera car is also kind of advertised not only as a super efficient vehicle, but as a long range driving vehicle with up to 1,000 miles of range, apparently. So I'm sure people are going to want to use it for long distance travel. So using a Supercharger network for that's going to be super useful. All right, and then the last piece of news I want to discuss before we go into the comments is the Genesis GV60 all-wheel drive Performance, which Seth had access to last week. Was it last week?
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have been a week before, but
yeah.
I finally got around to riding it last week. So,
what did you think?
So, it's a great car. It's kind of like the EGMP, the Kia EV6 and the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and also the Ioniq 6. It's a great car. It charges really fast. This one is a performance car, so it has like a 3.4 second 0 to 60, so super fast. Great car, charges like faster than any other car on the market. It's got power coming out of it. I was just a little bit upset by some of the shortcomings, and the biggest one, strangely, is the lack of wireless CarPlay. So you've got like all this stuff, like all these like tech trinkets and stuff, and you still have to plug in your phone. Like, I mean, with Chevy Bolt, $25,000 car, has had wireless CarPlay for 2 or 3 years already. So it's like one of those head scratchers. Like, why would you spend all this money on all this? Like, most of it was, trinkety, but like, why would you spend all this money on this tech when you like the one thing that really would help people out is, wireless CarPlay. There were some other things, like some of this tech would actually slow down getting into the car and going. So for instance, you turn on the car, the crystal ball that you have in the middle of the thing, it's kind of silly, turns into a gear shifter, but that takes a couple seconds. So instead of pushing the car and
what are we looking at right now? Like on there?
Let me look.
Yeah,
that thing.
Okay.
So that thing is a crystal ball, and you have to turn on the car for the crystal ball to turn into a gear shifter, and that takes a couple seconds. And it's just like one of those flow things. Like, you get in a car, you put in the gear, you go. And this has like a lot. It just seemed like a silly thing. But again, overall, it's a great car. The other thing that kind of stuck out as something I didn't enjoy was to get the full acceleration, the full 3.4 second 0 to 60, you have to push a boost button on the steering wheel, and you can see it on the screen there if you're watching.
The yellow button?
That yellow button. And that's cool for tricks. Like, it feels like your Knight Rider. It feels like, you've got this like cool little toy. But when you're trying to get on the highway and, there's a big semi coming, you don't want to have to reach down and find that button. Or, you're trying to pass a cement truck or something. You don't want to have to look around your steering wheel to find the boost button, unless, your finger's on the boost button all the time and you're just clicking and clicking and clicking.
How does it work? Do you click it you click it or hold it? Or does it work?
You click it, and then for 10 seconds, so the screen turns red and you kind of get like the hyper screen.
Yeah.
And then it's on for like 10 seconds. And then you have to actually hit the brakes for it to stop. So it's like boosting you forward for 10 seconds. I don't know. It just put that in the accelerator pedal. Like, when I stomp on the accelerator, push me forward. Like, I don't want to have to push other buttons. And I heard somebody say, I don't know if this was official, but I heard somebody say that the Genesis can't go like, 10 times in a row that fast. So this kind of limits people the amount of, quick acceleration. But still, like, if it can't do it, then just don't have that ability. Like, I don't know. So that was something silly. You can see from the image here that it's a similar size to the Model Y. There's no frunk, and there's a frunk, but it's like a glove box, and there's not as much room in the back. So, if you're comparing a cargo space, it's not going to hold up well to the Model Y. But I would say inside, it's much more comfortable, more luxury feeling. But tons of buttons, and like, there's always like 3 ways to do something. So they have like this scroll wheel, there's a touch screen, and then there's also like on the steering wheel, there's like a trackpad. So it's like having like 6 mice on your computer. It just like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I think it's clear right now, the industry. Like, every time I test a car, an electric car that's not a Tesla, I'm always like, all right, I think within like 10 years, software inside vehicles is going to be Tesla, Apple, and Android. That's it. Like, there's
Right.
all the other automakers are going to give up the experience inside their vehicles within 10 years. People were laughing at Tesla for a long time because there's no buttons. Like, I like my buttons, everything like that. And I get it. I get it. I know there's some people that are like that and they like the analog things and everything. I understand it and everything. But as an overall experience with the new generation that grew up on iPads and with touch screens and iPhone and all that, it's gonna go towards that. There's just no way. And automakers, as far as I can tell, and no automakers has really embraced it enough where they're gonna be able to compete with the likes of Android Auto. And what's the new Apple thing? It's not CarPlay anymore. It's
it's
the in-car one.
The whole car experience. I don't. It's like the Apple Car something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. And we've seen it's already happening. Like the Volvo XC90 that they just announced, I think last week or the week before. It looks like the interior looks like a Model S, like an old Model S with the vertical screen. It looks like, it could have been like a Tesla render or something. So I think they're getting the idea slowly. More and more companies are starting to pick up Android Auto. I'm sure as soon as Apple comes out with their in-car experience, there'll be more people there as well. Yeah, I mean,
kind of weird to me.
The wheels are very weird. There was it's a super aerodynamic looking car, but then they have things on it that aren't super aerodynamic, like the wheels or the front grille. That's it seems like that was designed and not. So that grille you can't really tell from that, but the grille is very not aerodynamic. It's just a screen. So
I've seen the Ioniq 5 around town here in Shawinigan a lot, like a gray black one, a dark gray one, and Ioniq 5 looks better than the Genesis, I think, which is it's supposed to be like the luxury version of the Ioniq 5.
Right.
I'm sure inside it's probably better, but
yeah, it's really nice inside. It feels like a kind of like a German luxury car inside. And it's got a lot of room in the back. It's not as like there's my son's tuba.
That's tuba. It's huge.
Yeah.
Forget how big a tuba is. Thought it was a cello or something like.
He stopped playing the cello, so around the tuba now.
That's the pricing here. All right, let's talk about pricing for a second. So you tried the performance all-wheel drive version. That's $78,000. $68,000.
Yeah,
$68,000. And if you want the all-wheel drive version, it's $59,000. So you get a little bit more range out of this, of course, too.
Yeah, but you lost the tax credit. So these are made in Korea.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Also, take a look at the range on those.
248 for the all-wheel drive. If you want performance, 235.
Yeah. 235. That's a little
for a $70,000 car. Yeah, it's not.
And it's the same.
Go with
battery.
the Ioniq 5.
Yeah, it's the same battery pack as the Ioniq or the EV6, and those things start at over 300 miles. And I think that's just because they have those, the larger tires and the they didn't focus as much on the efficiency. So yeah, I was a little disappointed, I have to say. Like I had high hopes for it. I really like the EV6. I really like the Ioniq 5. This one, like if you really like a luxury interior and a crystal ball, then go for it. But
otherwise, stick to the Ioniq and the EV6.
Yeah.
All right, we don't know what's happening. You guys are not commenting.
It's Black Friday.
It's Black Friday.
We gotta talk about deals.
Yeah. I was telling myself I'm not gonna go buy anything this year on Black Friday. I have enough expenses with this selling thing and whatnot. But I did get one thing. They got an electric, which is relevant to this, an electric snowblower.
Oh, nice. Which one did you get?
Old Joe Snow.
Nice.
Snow Joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
You gotta get one of those for your new place. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's someone that comes here and plows for me, but it's such a weird driveway. It's such a huge driveway, and it's a weird one that goes all around the property and everything. So that even though I get it plowed, the parts that I still need, like between the doors and all that, because we got a lot of snow over the last 2 weeks, and I was doing it just with a normal shovel, and I was killing me just with that. So I went with the
save your back for MMA.
Yeah. It's a good workout though. It's shoveling snow. It's a good workout, and it's satisfying because like actually doing something that's useful.
Yeah.
and it's a great workout. There's no doubt about it. All right,
All right.
we have a few questions despite not too many
Just some
comments.
comments. Tesla Club South Africa says, when do you think Elon will eventually open South Africa, the place of his birth? I feel like South Africa has power walls. Is that right, or something?
Yeah, they do as far as I know, but that's a cool logo that you guys have here. Tesla
Yeah.
Club Z. Why is ZAR? Is that?
I think that's South Africa because they're like kind of Dutch. So
Yeah.
Z South is with a Z.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, they're trying to get a mascot for their club. Any assistance and suggestions would be greatly appreciated. We also tweet Elon constantly, but no joy. Well, that's not surprising, but maybe Twitter make your icon a
bird.
a bird. Yeah, I don't know.
Symbology, like a Shiba Inu or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know when they're gonna launch in South Africa. I don't know how's the market there in terms of electric vehicles. I always keep an eye on when Tesla opens up on a new market, especially like looking for jobs openings and all that. And the first thing that's going to happen is mostly likely job openings for deployment of charging station and a service center. So that's something to keep an eye on. But no, I'm not so sure.
All right. So Brett was not happy with us
Yeah.
90% covering Tesla. It's exhausting. It's always about Tesla. Sorry,
It's
Brett.
a lot about Tesla, but I mean, some would, like last week we had a lot of non-Tesla stuff with the LA Auto Show, but even even then, there was the LA Auto Show. There was not a lot of electric vehicles out there. Like, it's not our fault. Like, Tesla stuff, there's always Tesla stuff.
Right. And it's all electric.
Yeah.
All right. And then Steve Souser, my bet on Cybertruck pricing is $50K fleet model and $70K for the intermediate, combined with the $7K rebate. It's virtually no price increase for buyers with qualifying incomes, and Tesla is a hero.
I don't think Tesla's going to do any kind of fleet. I mean, unless you're just meaning like that's going to be the model that fleets are going to go for. But Tesla is quite clear about like no fleet discounts or anything like that. So there's no the car is going to be used for commercial purposes. I am sure there's going to be fleet buyers that are going to go for it, but I don't think there's going to be necessarily a fleet model. It's going to be a base model like the Pro Lightning and things like that. And $50,000 is probably a good guess, but I think it's going to be for everyone. It's just probably not for everyone until 2025, maybe late 2024, because Tesla is going to focus on the more expensive ones for sure. But yeah, it would make sense for Tesla to try to keep the price below $80,000 to do get the incentive, because of SUVs and pickup trucks have $80,000 price top price limit. So yeah, that would make sense. And yeah.
Okay. So Great American says, I like the Tesla coverage. That's why I come here. And then taking my shot says heart Tesla. And then finally, we have Tesla Club again, South Africa. I would love to chat to you guys about the Tesla Club South Africa.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if you guys have any news, you can always reach out. I'm always open to discuss if you, especially, I don't know if, how you guys have any imports, if you guys are importing them yourselves. That's generally what Tesla looks for in terms of opening in a new market. They look how's the demand in terms of people going through the hoops and to get the cars themselves, and then after that, they actually open up a market. So that would be an approach to look at. But thanks everyone for listening to the show this week. If you do enjoy the show, again, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell to know when we come online, and I hope you have